Bad news for housing. Existing home sales falling for a third straight month. Worse news, some mortgage lenders are easing up lending rules to drum up new business, and some even beginning to accept down payments as low as 3%. Real estate analyst Jason Meister says it's lending like this that got us into the last housing mess and history could repeat itself. But real estate CEO Dottie Herman says housing is not in danger. So let me start with you, Jason,
yes,
and this business about the fact that the market, is it another bubble? Is it going to burst? What's going on?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to burst, Tom. I think that you have properties have been trading, but I think that you have to be careful of the first-time home buyer. They're really hard to find because mortgage applications are down at a 14-year low, and banks are basically easing, like you said in the beginning of the segment, and if they ease, you're going to have more toxic loans. So we have to be very careful. We learned from the last time.
Right.
You have a housing crisis when you ease and you don't keep 720 on your credit scores and you don't keep their skin in the game.
But they're lowering their standards simply because of the fact that the refis have basically been refied. They're gone. So if you're running a mortgage company and you got a big staff, a big nut every month to hit, you got to get more volume. So that's probably why they're dropping their...
That's part of the problem, but the other problem is that there's an affordability issue. Interest rates are up from a year ago.
Okay.
Prices of the median home price went up 12% year over year. That's artificial growth. We need organic growth. I don't think we're headed for any kind of crisis, but I think if we see 2 to 4% organic growth going forward, I think that's healthy. I think that what's happening right now is healthy, but I think that we have to understand that the first-time home buyer is the beginning of the food chain. And if the first-time home buyer doesn't buy their home, then the person that they'd be buying from isn't going to buy the next
The whole
home.
domino effect. You were shaking your head, Dottie.
Well, I don't disagree with the whole first-time home buyer, but I will say there's no crisis. We went from such strict. I mean, you couldn't really get a mortgage. Credit is totally different than it was before. You really have to have good credit. And they always gave, the FHA, the Federal Housing Administration, always gave 5% loans out.
I was going to say, they can always do cheap, right?
Okay,
yeah.
And they also gave bad credit. I mean, you could have like a 6-something and still qualify. All right, it's some and very few, and it's targeted areas, and the government is now getting involved, and they are, in addition to the 5%, helping people have gifts, because a lot of parents can help out now. So they're trying to make it a little easier, but it's coming from so tight. It is that.
So you're just saying that the pendulum swung too far and it's coming back. All right. We've also got a lot of foreign buyers. We're changing gears. Are the Chinese coming for us? Because more countries like China are coming to the U.S. to buy up our land. And Dottie, you see this firsthand, I understand.
Oh, goodness. I mean, we've always had foreigners. New York City is very international. But the amount now has superseded anything that I remember. People are leaving their countries and buying second homes here because, one, the U.S. is stable. A lot of foreign governments in Europe are not stable. In Chinese, they have all these, in Asia, they have all these laws that you can't buy so many houses.
Are dollars cheap versus their currency?
It's really not over dollars.
But you saw the 80s when the Japanese were buying Rockefeller Center and Pebble Beach. Is that what we're seeing?
I don't think it's one group. Like, you know, in Miami, it's South Americans. I think you're seeing, you're going to see right through the next 10 years. Matter of fact, Knight Frank predicts that in 2024, the United States, which is now number 2, will be number 1 for destinations from other countries moving here.
Jason, what do you see in the foreign buyer?
From 2009 to 2013, we did actually see a 95% increase from foreign buyers in the U.S. housing market. And I think that part of that is we're a safe haven. We are the safest investment. Look at what's going on in Crimea. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. I mean, there's a lot of turmoil out there, and we are a safe place to park money. The Chinese have a housing bubble right now that they're dealing with. There's a credit bubble and there's a housing bubble, so they're parking money here.
I presume they're all cash, what makes it even more competitive for the person, the couple in this traditional housing market who wanted to go out and buy a home and get a mortgage.
That's right. I was out this weekend with one of the largest Chinese developers looking at million-plus square foot development sites here in Manhattan, New Jersey, and Brooklyn. And the Japanese are flying in this week with me to go look at an office building. So there's no question it's a trend that's happening.
We just did at L.A. We're doing the largest development L.A. has ever seen, and they're a Chinese development company. You're going to see more of that. And yes, they do have cash, and they're going to continue.
All right, so if you want to get in the real estate business, you better go take some foreign language courses. Dottie and Jason, thank you both very, very much.